This is Joy News Interactive here on the Joy News channel with me, Mapita CBD. Unfortunately, we're going to take a quick breather to go where IDEG and other CSOs are talking about the Peace Pact.
The last one. The NDC calling for an audit. Who is to do that audit? The laws of this country require that the court is the only place that we can go after the elections to resolve this issue. And therefore, if they are calling for an audit and they are sure that they have their pink sheets as they claim to have, then they should go to the court for the court to give that order for the audit to be performed. We cannot. We have no locus to say that the EC should. We can only maybe advise that perhaps that may be an option. But I believe that the appropriate forum is the court. And this is not going to be the first time. In 2012, they went to court, and the court asked for the papers to be audited, and that's when we got to know about the pink sheet and all that. Right? So why are they shying away from going to the court with their evidence? That's my perspective. I think that the right forum is the court. I don't know what the other panel members say.
Thank you very much. The gentleman who asked the question, did you say the NDC is saying that all the pink sheets should be audited outside of the courts? I heard something like that. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The former president has asked that all the pink sheets be audited before he will accept the outcome of the result. He said that to the VOA yesterday. That is outside of the court process.
Okay. I wanted to know how that will be done. Because of the situation we find ourselves in. The EC's results have come up, but if you look back, the EC has asserted its independence in situations that usually you might think that, okay, it's going to dialogue, it's going to find a political agreement on how what steps should be taken forward. But working through IPAC has been very difficult, you know that, and sometimes IPAC has even had to take votes on critical issues that needs to be resolved. So given what transpired before the elections and where we've gotten to, what if the EC does not respond positively to what they've said or doesn't take action on that? What do we do? And I think that for us, if it's possible to do it quickly and peacefully within the EC, and the EC will respond and answer some of the questions, because even if the EC is independent, it also has to be, sorry, I had my mask on. If the EC would also listen and find a way of responding, that would be helpful. But we should also entertain the possibility that it might not. What do we do? And this is why we think that probably both tracks should be pursued. You only go to court when other avenues are shut or are not effective. The issues we're dealing with ought to be responded to quickly. We do not have a lot of time for it to drag on. And we believe strongly that the EC should also hold itself accountable and respond to things that it can respond to assure Ghanaians the propriety of actions it has taken and the fact that, yes, the electorate, they created all the conditions, and so maybe some of the questions being raised are not valid. I think some more conversation is needed. I know that Kodeo, for instance, had asked the EC to speak to the public about some of the mistakes made in reading out the statistics on the turnout of voters as declared and so on. Yesterday, there was a statement I read on the media. So we are not the only one, but I think ultimately we've been also guided by what happened in 2013, that the audit of some of the ballots was authorized by the court. And our understanding is that every decision the EC makes is grounded in law. And some of the results are also grounded in law. They are gazetted and all that. So it takes the Constitutional Court and its, other courts to act or to interpret what needs to be done. Otherwise, the EC keeps asserting it, says, well, in discharging my functions, I'm independent and no one could dictate or whatever. So it's the court that has that power and that authority. That we saw in 2013, the EC practically complied with what the court directed. And where it did not, people went back to the court and further directives were given. So let us not leave out the courts. The courts are important. Yes, many people are skeptical whether our courts will be fair and so on. But I think the courts go beyond individuals. Probably their proceedings, when they are open to the public, everybody comes under some amount of pressure to do its work professionally and respond to the issues of interest to the public. So let us not rule out the courts so that we find ourselves in a situation where we are so helpless, we feel we should resort to violence. So both tracks are not contradictory, and I think that's what we've said in the statement. So let's go forward in that. It's a good thing to demand, and let's get the response. That's our position.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akwete. I think Reverend Dr. Ansah would like to also make a comment.
Thank you. I'm just adding that as at yesterday, the EC actually sent out notice that they had gazetted.
Could you please stand and tend to the cameras?
Sorry. I'm just adding that the EC in yesterday's publication indicated that they had actually gazetted the results of the presidential. So I don't know how the effect of this request will be after it's gazetted. Then obviously what Dr. Akwete has said, that it now comes back to the courts, is where we are now. So I don't know the legal implications of that extra effort of auditing. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Ansah. Any more questions from the media? Any more questions? Well,
They are satisfied with everything we've
yes,
said.
they seem satisfied with everything we've said.
And they will not follow up us calling us for interviews to explain things, isn't it? Okay.
And so
We'll close up.
I think on that note, we would invite the Senior Research Fellow of the Institute, Mr. Kwesi Jonah, to give us the closing remarks.
We've been talking, we thought we were going to pose the question. I think it's a slight omission we made. You know that IDEG and the CFI, as they monitor the political and security conditions in the country, also do draw attention on the need to enforce the law, and that electoral violence, impunity, and injustice has permeated the entire system, and it needs to be addressed. In our deliberations yesterday, it was clear that at least we heard from the media that the person who snatched the ballot box, was it Tishiman South? Sene, had been arrested, prosecuted, and jailed, which is for 3 months, which is what we think is extremely important, and we need more of that. Now, we've been worried that in this election, we were told there would be over 60,000 security personnel deployed. And despite their deployment, we've also heard that 5 people, indeed the police themselves have admitted 5 people were killed. We also know of electoral violence that occurred during the registration. We think we wish to call on the IGP and his colleagues who supported him on the National Election Security Task Force to work very hard to bring those culprits to book. Investigations, arrest investigations and prosecution resulting in the punishment that the court would mete out are vital to healing the wounds and also making us believe strongly in the Vigilantism and Related Offences Act and all the efforts that the president says he's making zero tolerance for vigilante violence. And we think that it is the time that police showed greater efficacy in bringing those who've killed others just because they were going to cast their foes to book. We think this is important and would help in the management of the situation facing us. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel Apete. Well, Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media, I think for a start, it is important to understand why IDEG has taken such a keen interest. Why IDEG has taken such a keen interest in post-election developments. It will be recalled that it is IDEG CFI that together under the distinguished patronage of the Chief Imam, National Chief Imam, the National Peace Council, the National House of Chiefs, convened the signing of the Presidential Election Peace Pact. Now, having committed to this pact to ensure that their followers will conduct themselves peacefully, we have to constantly remind you, the public, as well as those who signed, that we all have an obligation under the pact to ensure that the election and developments after that are peaceful. This country has a very, very big reputation in the international arena as a peaceful, democratic country. And it would be most unfortunate if we should do anything to damage that reputation. And I believe that it is on the basis of this logic that IDEG has called you to express its views on post-election development. We were very, very active in the signing of the Presidential Election Peace Pact. Therefore, please, when you go to report, do not forget that it is CFI and IDEG that convened the Presidential Election Peace Pact, and it is on the strength of that Peace Pact that we continue to show such a keen interest in peaceful developments after the election. On this note, I would like to thank all of you. Fortunately, I know quite a few